This is a story of Oscar Kambona, a Tanzanian politician of great reputation. Please subscribe, comment, and give a like. Modern Tanzania history will not be complete without reference to Oscar Kambona. Oscar Salatiel Kambona was born on 13th August 1928 in a small village called Kwambe near Mbamba Bay in the district of Nyasa near Songea in Ruvuma region of southern Tanganyika. Kambona received his primary schooling at home under a mango tree. His tutors were his parents, who were teachers. He later attended St. Barnabas Middle School in Liuli in southern Tanganyika, which was not very far from his home. He had an opportunity of attending Alliance Secondary School in Dodoma in central Tanganyika. His fees were paid for by the Anglican bishop, who was inspired by Kambona reciting the Lord's Prayer in English. He was selected to attend Tabora Boys Secondary School. It was in Tabora where he first met Julius Nyerere, who was teaching at St. Mary's Catholic School in the town of Tabora. It was in Tabora that his association with Tanzania's future leaders began. Among these leaders include Emilio Mzena, Albert Nyirenda, and Job Lusinde. Kambona later did a stint as a teacher at Tabora Boys Secondary School. It was in Tabora where he was inspired by Julius Nyerere to participate in multi-party politics. His political career started in 1955 when he was made the Secretary General of the Tanganyika African Union, TANU. The party had been formed in 1954. During this tenure, great efforts were made to recruit members into TANU. Julius Nyerere was its president. He helped to recruit 10,000 members into the party within a period of 6 months and another 100,000 in 1 year. He traveled with Nyerere in explaining the policies of TANU. He was active in political agitation for independence. In 1957, Kambona had an opportunity to study law at Middle Temple University. The university was situated in London. In London, he had an opportunity to meet with Pan-Africanists. Among them was George Padmore and Kwame Nkrumah. He became a roommate of Kasim Hanga from Zanzibar. They would later on work together in ensuring the merging of two nations in 1964 into the Republic of Tanzania. It was while he was in London that he became the first African to broadcast the Kiswahili news bulletin of the BBC. He had an opportunity of hosting Julius Nyerere in his London apartment where they consulted about TANU and the forthcoming Tanganyika independence. It was while he was in London that Kambona married a former Miss Tanganyika, a lady by the name of Flora Morio. The wedding was conducted at St. Paul's Cathedral in London. Julius Nyerere was his best man. It was the first wedding of black people in the cathedral. On attainment of independence, Kambona had an opportunity of serving in several ministries. They include the Ministry of Education, Home Affairs, Foreign Affairs and Defense, and Local Government and Rural Development. He also had an opportunity of serving as chairman of the Committee of Liberation in the OAU. Kambona played a key role in efforts to unite Tanganyika and Zanzibar after the Revolution of 1964, which was led by Field Marshal John Okello, a role also played by President Nyerere and Karume. While he served as Minister for Foreign Affairs and Defense, Kambona arranged for a group of youth from Tanganyika National Union, TANU, to join the army and submit directly to him. He had arranged to send them to Israel for military training. This was, however, resisted by Brigadier Douglas Sholto, a British Army officer who was commander of Tanganyika Rifles. This would later come to haunt him, as he was accused of creating a power base. Another incident that would work against him later was during the mutiny of Tanganyika Army. The mutiny later spread to Uganda and Kenya. Tanganyika armed forces mutinied against domination by British forces at senior level. They also complained against poor pay. They started by arresting British European officers at Kolito barracks. They drove to State House seeking audience with President Nyerere. Nyerere was later withdrawn to a safe haven in a grass-thatched house in Kigamboni by the head of intelligence, Emilio Mzena. On failing to find Nyerere, they arrested the Minister for External Affairs and Defense alongside the Minister for Home Affairs, Job Lusinde. It was left to Kambona to negotiate with the mutineers under Sergeant Hingo Ilogi. His ability to give in to demands of mutineers would later be used against him. Among the demands was the removal of British soldiers to Nairobi and later Britain. It was noted that the mutineers literally handpicked Elisha Kavana for the post of brigadier. This would later backfire, as it was learned that Kavana, a Sanders-trained officer, may actually have been the ringleader of the mutiny. It is him who traveled to Uganda, where he was a student at Makerere, to meet with soldiers in Jinja Barrack. He also had traveled to Nairobi, Nakuru, Tabora, and Nachingwea, which have huge army barracks, and these were the sources to the mutiny. It was also noted that by deporting British officers, Kambona wanted to revenge against Brigadier Sholto for refusing his choices for joining the army. He allowed Field Marshal John Okello to talk with the mutineers. Okello was in Dar es Salaam to meet with Julius Nyerere, but could not be able to meet because President Nyerere had been withdrawn to a safe haven. Later, he took the mutineers who were handpicked by soldiers for senior ranks to meet with Julius Nyerere at State House, Dar es Salaam. They included Sergeant Hingo Ilogi and Lieutenant Elisha Kavana, a Sanders-trained officer who later was promoted to major. But eventually, he disappeared actually from the army. In 1965, Tanganyika officially became a one-party state. It was Oscar Kambona who, as a cabinet minister, was reluctant to accept the move. He argued that the new system had no safeguards to ensure that the country did not sink into dictatorship. Another split occurred in February 1967 when Tanzania adopted the Arusha Declaration and Economic and Political Blueprint for transformation of Tanzania as a socialist state. It was after this declaration that Kambona left Tanzania for Britain via Kenya and went into self-imposed exile. His home in Magogoni was ransacked by security forces. Later, he became a critic of Julius Nyerere when he was in exile. When Nyerere recognized the breakaway state of Biafra, Kambona was invited by the military leader of Nigeria, General Yakubu Gowon, to give lectures in Nigeria. Kambona denounced Nyerere's dictatorial tendencies. He accused Nyerere of giving weapons meant for African liberation movement to Biafra. Nigerian leaders reminded Tanzania that they had sent a training mission to Tanzania after the army mutiny of 1964. Nigeria provided a battalion of soldiers to assist in the creation of a new army. It is possible that Nyerere was disappointed at the killing of Tawafa Balewa, a close friend of his. Kambona was quick to remind his listeners in Nigeria and even Britain that it was he who had calmed down the soldiers while Nyerere and Kawawa went into hiding in what he described as in a grass hut. It was noted that when Nyerere came out of seclusion, he publicly thanked Oscar Kambona, whom he called my colleague, for managing the explosive situation. In 1969, Nyerere accused Kambona of masterminding a coup bid, which would take place in October 1969. All the coup plotters were arrested, save for Kambona, who was residing in London. The coup plotters intended to assassinate President Nyerere. They included John Chipaka, BBTT, Williams Chacha, Elia Chipaka. The Chipaka brothers were cousins to Oscar Kambona. When Tanzania adopted multi-party democracy, Kambona decided to return as one of the 25 opposition parties. He faced massive government opposition with claims that he was not a citizen of Tanzania but of Malawi. His passport was seized, but later it was returned to him. His party did not fare well. He returned to London, where he died in 1997. His body was brought back to Tanzania for burial. Dr. Julius Nyerere did not attend his funeral. However, his son did attend.